Um,
Hello,
Welcome back to
everyone.
this. Yes, hello, Viki. So happy to see you again.
Very happy to
Uh,
be here. Thank you very much.
yes, exactly, because I felt like lonely in doing this work on my own. So welcome
Yeah,
to
I
this.
missed it as well.
Exactly. So welcome to this Transitioning Humanitarians live session that Viki and I have started in March, right? So it's coming almost a year soon. Yay!
Yeah,
So exactly. And the topic that Vicky suggested that we talk about this week is the topic of fear of loss, right? Especially in transitioning, this topic comes a lot. And we would why we have that fear, why it might be problematic if we don't really address it, and then how to address it basically. So,
yeah,
Vicky, maybe we could start with why do you think we have that fear of loss? What would you say?
yeah. Yeah, you know, as I was thinking about it and just recalling all these experiences that some of the clients that I work with have is really this sudden feeling of anxiety or just like I would describe it as something narrow, like I'm being squeezed, right? And that's really the feeling like I'm losing something. I'm losing not only the job because I'm transiting to something else, but also really a lifestyle, maybe a bunch of really good friends, and maybe lots of other things that come with it. Of course, maybe also certain salary requirements or visions. So really, very often people are like, oh, and that's like several layers of loss that people could be thinking and associating with it, and that has a lot of reasons, and we can talk about it. But I would also like to mention one of the reasons is that we very often associate, in particular, aid workers with my job is really my identity and who I am. So that's why this compounded effect that that there is this loss, and like, oh, maybe I will never see my friends, and I will never be able to do this job, whereby there is always a part of this job that we like. And also maybe a country. Very often we need to leave the country of assignment or the country we operate from. So there is a multiple sort of effect of how many times I can feel the loss. And so this is really what it is. And I would love to hear from you, Asel. What is it that what is your experience, and what would you maybe why do you think this happens?
Yeah, so I was thinking that I can think of at least like four reasons why we experience it. So one is uh, believing that whatever we are leaving is irreversible, right? Meaning that we can come back to, like you were saying a bit, that if I leave, I will lose everything, kind of that feeling. Never be the same, it will never be that thing that I know, right? So that's, I think, one big
Yeah,
part of it, which is totally understandable. The other one is that I think we also fear that we will not be able to create similar experience. So obviously,
yeah,
therefore, we not only fear of losing, but we also fearful of going to where we are going. And similar to that, the third point is I think that we believe that whatever we were going to won't be as successful or more successful. So that's why we believe that we're losing the success that we've created already. But if you think about it, if you really believe that you could make things even more successful or more better, then would you really experience that fear, right? So that's interesting, like conversation to have and see what happens because we human beings tend to always accommodate things that we love easier than letting go of things uh, that
yeah,
is like we don't like or whatever. It's easier to let go of things as well. But if we do something amazing, then we wouldn't probably have as much of the fear of loss as we
yeah,
otherwise do which is also understandable, right? So, and the fourth point is like you were saying, is a bit of a nostalgic, I think, like grieving in some ways, maybe also that those type of adrenaline that we used to have probably won't be appearing in that level, in that amount, or those type of experiences, like the unique experiences that we had in the field,
Yeah.
probably won't be in that environment where we're going. So that's why it's so understandable that we fear that loss, and we experience that in so many different ways, like you're saying, in the way that feels like constraining, squeezing, like grieving in some ways, right? And um, and maybe we could also talk why we need to address it, right? Because I think
Mm.
oftentimes we think of it like, oh yes, I just need to grieve it, I just need to complete it, and then I just need to move on. But maybe Vicky, we could talk about
Mm-hmm.
why it's necessary that we process
Yeah.
it or look at it, right? What would you say to them?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I like what you say that we need to process it, because the processing of any emotion is important. We can't really swipe the emotions, or shouldn't sweep the emotions underneath the under the carpet, as they say, because obviously they will show up somewhere. So processing of the emotions is okay. And if somebody feels some sort of nostalgia, that's okay, but for a while, for a short while. But any extensive I mean, the realization that if I'm in this feeling is really, basically in a negative feeling. I'm in a feeling of of basically being in a very small world, very operating from a very small world, and also emotionally. And this is very that's feeling is not very conducive for creating the life you want to have. So this is why I think it's really, I would say this is probably the most important reason why it's important is, okay, if you need to grieve, if you really think that maybe you will never see these people or this part of the job or the excitement, as you say, the adrenaline, but on a very limited way, because we need to put ourselves in a space, and in a mental space and an emotional space that is conducive for us to start creating life that we want to create for ourselves. And that life cannot be created from a negative feeling, or from feeling of despair, or feeling small and feeling miserable. You cannot create great life from that emotional and physical, or any space. So this is why I would say it's really super important that we create the internal feeling of, yes, this is a great place to be in. Maybe maybe I still don't know what's happening tomorrow, but it's a great opportunity to create.
Yeah,
What about you? What do you think, Asel?
exactly. So I was also thinking that in those lines of the reason why it's problematic in the long run is because we keep focusing on the past and not what not, right? And that
Yeah,
gives us a lot of
yeah,
ammunition to sabotage ourselves as well, because we keep telling ourselves, well, the past was amazing, so we need to go back or recreate it. And then whenever we try to
yeah,
recreate things that we had once experienced, it may not really in any case, because it's
yeah,
like trying to recycle something and trying to expect things to be as before us. I don't think it works. So that's why if we are deciding to leave, then it's just important that we grieve and process it and then move on. This will always standing in the way of getting to where we want, like you were saying, and also it will probably also have the potential to make us always question whatever we're doing in the future, because our brain will be saying, well, you remember the past was so glorious and amazing, even though maybe it wasn't, but we glorify it so much so that our brain
yeah,
is like, well, then what the hell are we doing here, right? Or why are we doing trying this one if we think the past was
yeah,
great? And that's why you will see that you will find lots of different ways to sabotage yourself, to wanting to go back to the past, there was a
yeah,
reason why you left the past, right? So that's why I would say that that's like the big piece. And the other big piece is that whenever we don't process that fear of loss, which also suggests that we're not really trusting that we cannot create something. And
Yeah.
if we're not trusting that we can do that, again, we will be
Mhm.
like telling ourselves, well, whatever we're doing is not going to work, or it's not going to work as well as we thought. And then we'll always have like something to compare the whole time instead of the future and what we want to get done and how we want to go there. So that's
Yeah.
why I would say that um, shifting your mindset around how you can look at it, like Viki said, as a something amazing, positive in a sense of you can now new. So you no
Yeah.
longer need the past to be the reference for what you can or cannot create, but rather you just leave the past as it is, take whatever you want to from it, and then
Yeah.
decide how you want to create the next experience even better than right. And whenever we think that it's like, you know, I don't know about you, but like whenever we have something like new thing coming up that we're so excited about, we believe that it's better than the one we had before,
Hmm.
then it's easier. So that's why if you shift your
Yeah.
mind around that, then it could be easier for you than keep focusing on the past, right? So
Yeah.
I think we talked more about like why we think it's a problematic. So I guess the question how best to let go or how best to process it or how to address it in a way that people can start doing that now, whenever the stage they're in their transitioning journey. So Vicky, what would you say as to
Mhm.
how best to address it?
You, yeah, one of the things that I was thinking about, and especially for people who tend to, as you mentioned, who tend to go back and somehow live in the past, or go back to the good old glorious days, that maybe were not so glorious, but we really put them in
Yeah,
this sort of a light. Also, one of the things we forget is that it took us time to get to where we were in the past. So the really good work or lifestyle and or career that we had in the aid sector, it took us also several years,
yeah,
or at least several months, but in most of the time several years to build it up. And this is something we forget. And
yeah,
we forget how we felt also at the beginning of the career in the aid sector, that it was also struggle, it was also not knowing, am I good enough for this? Or at least we were asking ourselves, is this something that I really want? Is it something that I really it will be a good work for me or good lifestyle? So we tend to forget. So I just would like to also encourage people or humanitarians who are wishing to transition and create a new life, to just think about that and allow yourselves the space and time to go through this transition period, and of course prepare yourself mentally, because you will be trying to go back to this to the past, or really to really not being sure if this is the right thing. So that's and I think we mentioned it several times, that the feelings of doubts are very frequent at some stage. They will eventually fade, but at some stage during the transition, the loads of questioning of am I in the right path, and the doubts are really, really almost daily business, I would say. And for some, it takes short time. For others, it takes a longer time. But especially if you believe that this is what you're going to create, it's going to be a great life, then your doubts are very likely to fade even quicker. How about you, Asel? What would be your way of dealing with this?
I think that one of the main things that I would ask is why am I uh, fearing this loss, right? Or why am I fearing that it will be irresistible? Or why am I fearing that I can't make my life better than before? Or why am I fearing that I won't have the same type of lifestyle anymore, right? So whatever the fear that is like specific for you, ask yourself why you're choosing to think this is how it's going to go. And
Mm-hmm.
your brain will answer this beautifully. Probably you're well, because I have never done this before, which is absolutely understandable. Many things that we create from scratch, we've never done it before, so we'll be very fearful, and that's okay. We have all done it. I mean, like Viki was
Yeah.
saying, the humanitarian career, we have also done it from scratch, right? It's not like we're born with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We went, we tried different ways, we failed, and then we tried, and then we even cried at some point. I don't know about you, but I definitely did. And
Absolutely.
through all of
Absolutely.
that, we have created
Yeah.
what we love, right? So that means that we can similarly experience, or maybe we even will be even better in the new experience because we have so much experience already, meaning that we already know how it's done. Now
Yeah.
we can just use those skills to do it in a different way, right? So that's why, like, ask yourself, why are you just because you have never done this before that you won't be able to do that? It's not true. So just because you haven't done it, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you can't. It just means that you will do it differently. And that's okay. Allow
Yeah.
yourself to make that journey, take that journey, and see how you will go. The reason why your brain might be saying or choosing to believe that we can't really make this success happen again because, well, it only comes once, is because probably your brain believes it was a luck, right? We were lucky,
Yeah.
we got so lucky in this whatever organization we choose, right? So, I mean, my brain does that often as well. It's like, oh, I got lucky. I should have never gotten it, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
the thing that my brain explains. But
Mm-hmm.
if you really look at it like the
Mm-hmm.
facts, it's not true.
Yeah.
You applied for that job, you worked
Yeah.
hard to get that job, you show love,
Yeah.
and you got it because someone saw that you can do that job and you can do it
Yeah.
well, and it was
Yeah.
not luck. So that's why I would
Yeah.
love for you to
Yeah.
think about how the past that you have created, the success that you have created, how did you create it, how it was you who created it, in which ways you created it, and how you can use the same skill to create something else.
Yeah.
uh, because the skills are always there. It's like, riding a bicycle after years, right? It will always
Yeah.
remain with you, even though you
Yeah.
probably think you forgot everything, but then I'm
Yeah.
riding again. It's the same type of
Exactly.
skill. So that's why I would really love
Yeah.
to get people like curious as to why we're fearing so much or why we're attaching so much that we don't want to let go. And if we know the reason is because like it's possible to create again, or it's irreversible and we can't really create
Mm-hmm.
again, or whatever the thing is, ask yourself why you're choosing that. And if you don't want to
Mm-hmm.
choose, keep choosing it and keep fearing it, then it's time to think differently. Meaning, okay, if whatever I created, if I can create all of that in the most difficult duty stations, by the way, because humanitarians
Yes.
tend to create all of this success in places that many people maybe couldn't even like function, right? Because they would be fearful, yet humanitarians are so good at
Yeah.
not only surviving but also making it a success. So if we can do that, then it means that we can easily do similar or better success even in other settings. So this is
Yeah.
what I would like where I would start. So Vicky?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the one thing that I would like to add here is that I really like how you described the competencies and the skills, right? They're like bicycle, they will be with us. So when we were starting the aid sector, we were maybe we didn't have all these skills that we have today. We were developing and acquiring and improving. So our skills and competencies palette or inventory, so to speak, is so much larger than it was when we were starting the aid. Like it's really incomparably larger. And on the top, what we have now that we didn't have when we were starting in the aid sector is really all sorts of connections of good friends that we have that we are fearing we're going to lose. But there is a way to stay in touch. And it's not necessarily talking about how to use the connections, but how to just help each other. And if you want to go somewhere where somebody in the aid sector has gone, you can ask about somebody. Maybe somebody, or a friend or a friend. So really, this is an immense wealth, because our relationship are really something that. We cannot money cannot be placed or labeled with it. So I would say this is very important that we take account of all the relationships and all the good friends that we had, and ask them to help us maybe in this transition, going to a unknown land, so to speak, or a career that we are not so familiar with. So I would add this. The importance of relationships and friendships in all this.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
And maybe the last thing I want to add is that think of it this way is that if you have a choice, either you keep focusing on fearing losing all the things, or you can also decide that you can decide to create something bigger, better, whatever the thing your heart is desiring, you can create and focus on that. So equally both. But if you keep focusing on how you will, how you will lose everything, how you won't make everything, and all of this stuff, in the end, you will be more frustrated. You will be more discouraged. You will be more like confused and
yeah,
wanting to just go because your brain would be saying like, well, if you're confused and if you're scared, then you just should go to what you know. And that's
yeah,
probably not what you want because you decided to leave for a reason. So if you want, you can keep focusing on that, which will not bring anything to me, or you can just decide that yes, I have things to process through, which is like the nostalgia or the grieving of the experiences or whatever you need to process, and then decide, okay, now it's time to focus on something else.
yeah,
Now it's time to focus how to use what to get to a new destination I want to, and start
yeah.
building the road to get there, and then focus on that, because then you will at least have something tangible out of it so that you can learn as you go and then keep building
Mhm.
your new journey, right? So that's
Yeah,
why I would love for you to consider that you always have the choice or the option to think or to
absolutely.
focus either on something that you don't have or you won't have,
Hmm.
or focus on something that you have already and you can also build whatever something new that you're starting, and that way it will be more useful and serving for your like using your energy and time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, anything, Vicky?
I think you said it perfectly. There is just one thing that came to my mind that I learned many years ago in my first yoga training, was that energy flows where the mind goes. And I think it's really so important that wherever your mind will be on, this is what is going to happen. So
Exactly.
really be aware of what are your thoughts and what are your feelings, so that you adapt to where you want to go in life.
Exactly. And also I was thinking that, how many times I have like focused so much on what's not working or what I'm losing and all the things, and then in the end just realizing that it was just not worth of my time. And
Yeah.
that's when you're like, oh no, I could have just spent that time and energy on something else. Because I was not ready to process, because I wasn't ready to trust myself in that moment to say, no, I can actually do even better things that I want to. I kept like spinning in the things that I felt
Mhm.
I need to just rescue it, or I need to just like,
Yeah.
but that's not how the growth works. And growth is always scary. Growth is always demanding, and we know it. And probably one of the main
Yeah.
reasons why we want to transition is actually also to get out of our comfort zone little,
Yeah.
right? And get to the world and what else we can do or how else we can live. So that's why just continue thinking how can you focus on the thing that you want to create rather than on the thing that you have already experienced and passed through. And
Yeah.
that way you will always know what your path is and how to get there.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much, Viki, for this amazing
Thank you very much.
conversation
Thank you,
as
everyone.
usual. Yes, and if you have any questions, suggestions, or coaching, you let us know. We'll be happy to help you out or cover the topic that you suggest. And until then, we wish you an amazing week and
Yeah.
we'll see you next Thursday.
Yes. See you next Thursday. Have a great week. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.